introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Elizabeth Elliott.
Okay. And Elizabeth, tell us who you are. Let me start there.
Yeah, I'm Meghan and Benjamin's sister, older sister.
Okay. Where are you right now? 'Cause we know you're on video, but where are you currently?
I'm in my home in Columbus, Georgia.
All right. Walk me through just growing up. You're from Houston?
I am.
And where did you go to school growing up?
In Houston, I went to, I think, Weber Elementary, but we moved to Georgia when I was 8 or 9. And I went to Unity then.
You moved to
Georgia. I'm sorry.
Sorry, there's a delay, so I'm talking over you. I'm sorry. When you moved to Georgia, how old was Meghan and Ben?
5 or 6.
Tell the jury about Meghan, a little bit about her personality.
She was beautiful. She was really outgoing when we were younger, but just kind of stopped me up when we were older. I think it's because she really liked the quiet. She would like to read. She really loved animals. She wanted to have
hold
fun.
on. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of feedback, so just go a little slower and a little. If you tone it down just a little bit.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I would say she was wonderful. She really liked animals. We were on scouts together. Like, she was quiet. She loved to draw. She was really into animation last time we checked in.
Okay. And were you close with her?
Yeah, we shared a room when we were younger. We were all 3 very close.
Okay. Tell me about Ben. Were you close with him?
Yeah.
What kind of brother was he?
I don't know if he's a brother. He was hilarious. They are both brilliant. He was sarcastic, funny, really into building things. We were all really into like being outside. Like, it's just a good brother.
Did you ever know Ben to have any violent tendencies towards Meghan?
No.
Did you know Meghan to ever have any fear of her brother that he would do something?
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. The biggest drama they had was like Ben being a know-it-all when they played video games, and I feel like that's pretty regular. Like, and she would always talk about it. Like, Meghan had no problem bringing things up. So.
All right. You're in Georgia right now. Are you in school?
I am.
And do you work?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to show you what I have is marked as Defendant's Exhibit 3. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you recognize the people in this picture?
Yeah.
Okay. Does this picture fairly and accurately represent you, Ben, and Meghan?
I mean, that's our first day of school years ago, so I think so.
I'll offer Defendant's Exhibit 3.
No objection, Your Honor.
With no objection made, defense exhibit number 3 will be admitted into evidence and made published, sir.
Okay. Elizabeth, you mentioned Ben's way he treated Meghan. Did that get worse as they got older?
I mean, no, he didn't treat her badly at all. Like, I feel like we have pretty normal sibling drama. You know, it wasn't anything that I would categorize as like strange. Like, I wouldn't categorize Ben as violent at all. Like, he speaks very quietly, always has. Like I said, the only problem is that he's brilliant and knows it, and sometimes can be the only right one in the room. But that's pretty typical teenage things stuff.
Okay. Did you observe how Ben would act as like a protector to your sister whenever she had issues?
For sure.
Okay. Let's start. Let me start here. What did Meghan have? Was she autistic?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell the jury a little bit about that.
She was diagnosed when we were younger. It was always something we all kind of like knew, grew up with. she was really quiet. She had a hard time. She was so loving, but she had a really hard time making friends, especially when she got older, because there's not a lot of room for that kind of softness, I think, in public.
All right, slow down just a little. Slow down just a little. So she would have a hard time making friends.
Yeah.
Ma'am, this is Judge Lacayo in the 182nd. You're gonna have to slow down, okay? Just please slow down.
And what a sharp judge. Judge Lacayo is the judge presiding over this case. You may have noticed he doesn't wear a robe. He wears a scarf and a really sharp suit and tie every day he's on the bench. So let's take that pause as they are in the courtroom, and we'll get right back in with more from the older sister of victim Meghan and defendant Benjamin.
When you go into a trial, you try to eliminate surprises.
Did he ever use the N-word?
Yes, he did.
That was a surprise.
The goal was to get him to lie. Have you used that word?
Not that I recall, no.
Anywhere that he was involved was tarnished.
I was heard uttering the N-word 40 times. How do you pull that back? You don't.
Trial and Error. Why did O.J. win? A Court TV original series. New episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Court TV.
We're so grateful for your company on this Friday morning at TGIF, right? Welcome back to Court TV. I'm Julie Grant. So we're in Texas for what we're calling the sleepwalking twin murder trial for Benjamin Elliott. He's 21 now, 17 at the time he stabbed and killed his sister. But his defense is that it happened in the middle of the night when he was sleepwalking and thought he was in a dream. Let's hear more from his older sister now.
How would Ben react to her difficulty making friends?
He would just be quietly supportive of her. They have their own separate friends. They had a lot of combined friend groups. If people were ever unkind, he would shut it down.
Okay, what do you mean by shut it down?
The thing that came to mind is when we were younger, we were in the school bus in Luthersville, and just these kids were just being unkind to her, and she was being quiet. And Benjamin got up and started crying, actually, and was like yelling at them and like telling them to like leave her alone.
Okay.
That was pretty cool.
All right. Did you ever notice or have an experience where Ben was sleepwalking?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell the jury about that. Around what age was that?
That would also be in Luthersville. So I guess it would have been like 10 or 11. Me and Meghan were sharing a room. We had bunk beds, and we'd already been put to sleep. I was maybe like 13 or 14, and Meghan woke me up because Ben was standing in the doorway, just kind of like silhouetted and just like staring, not moving, just kind of staring at us. And I woke up and we both called out to him multiple times, and he didn't move, he didn't react. So I got up and just like touched his shoulder, and his eyes were like barely open. And then we told him to go back to bed, and he just turned around and went to bed. And we laughed about it, and we told our parents the next morning, and Ben had no memory at all. And we all just laughed about it. It was just like a story that we just had in us.
Now, you mentioned Ben's smart. Is he the type of guy who's gonna mastermind killing his sister and then come up with some kind of crazy defense?
Objection calls for speculation.
That'll be sustained. Don't answer the question, please.
Did you ever talk to Ben about that sleepwalking incident?
A couple times in passing, but nothing ever serious. Like we didn't. I never considered it anything that would point to a problem, any serious. I didn't even really link it with sleepwalking for real, you know. So we brought it up. It's just like as a story, and it's like my dad also has like a history of being a heavy sleeper and having whole conversations.
Objection.
And not remember.
Oh, hold on. I'm just objecting to hearsay and
Non-responsive?
non-responsive to.
That'll be sustained. Ma'am, if you could do me a favor rather, and just answer the question. And also, you can't say what anyone else said. So just listen to the question, and I think it'll go a lot smoother. Go ahead, Mr. Rucker.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth, let's talk.
We're going to pause this right here. You're going to hear more questioning from the defense. Again, Elizabeth is a defense witness, and she's so key here because she's talking about this habit. Habit evidence is what we're talking about here. This could potentially clear her brother of this murder charge. Let me bring back in our law enforcement analyst guest, retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffendaffer. Jennifer, how do you think Elizabeth is tipping the scales of justice, as I like to say?
Well, I agree with you, Julie, because she brings up a past event, and that shows some history if we're to believe her. And she is very believable, although it's got to be so difficult to testify via Zoom for everyone involved. Nevertheless, this event that she cites, I think, is very important.
You know, it really is, because when you think about this, you have to go back to the why, right, Jen? I mean, all the cases that you've worked so many homicides. We thank you for your service. Don't you always want to go back to the why? What would have motivated, what would have spawned this? And it seems that there is nothing.
That's the big hole in their investigation, and the jury always wants to understand motive. Always, 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 even though it's not an element of the crime. It's imperative that that's established, and they just can't do it here. Other than this parasomnia event, it explains something that is inexplicable.
Right, you're so right. You know, I would certainly hope, I always like to give the attorneys the benefit of the doubt, and prosecutors have a tough job. These prosecutors, I'm sure, have stacks of cases on their desk. This is just one of many that we're seeing. I would hope they would have done their due diligence in making sure they really have the compelling evidence to move forward here with respect to the intentionality. Any thoughts on that, Jen?
Yeah, I think it is so difficult. A lot of people just don't believe that people sleepwalk and can do things. And I have to just tell you this. Up until about the age of 10, I was a sleepwalker. My daughter is a sleepwalker still to this day. I went next door and ate and had no idea until I was later informed about that, to a house I'd never been to before. So it's just a situation that is extremely real. You can do complicated items and events and tasks. And so for that reason, I think this could stick.
This is so illuminating. Thank you for sharing that. And big shout out to all of our courties for sharing their experiences with sleepwalking. This is real stuff. We'll continue our coverage with this case right after this. Don't go away.
He is not a psychopath. He is not a sociopath. He is not crazy. So, either he had some hidden motive and he was mad at his sister and he killed her in the middle of the night, which is not, it's not true. You're not going to find that anywhere. He loved his sister. The evidence is going to show Meghan was someone on the spectrum. Ben a little bit too, but Ben was the funny one. He was witty.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rowlands. Good to be with you on this Friday as we round out another busy week here at Court TV. Boy, we got some fascinating cases right now. We're in a couple. In Texas, closing arguments are on deck in the sleepwalking twin murder trial. Defendant Benjamin Elliott accused of stabbing his twin sister to death. Says he was sleepwalking. Sure looks that way so far. The court has issued a 2-hour delay in this case. So we're catching you up on what's happened, and then we're going to bring the closings once we can by court order. We're also in California. Testimony set to resume in the celebrity stylist murder trial for Monica Cementelli. We'll monitor that courtroom as well for any updates. Expecting some lay witnesses to take the stand today, so we'll be dipping in and out of that as well. While we wait for the closing arguments, we were going back and listening to this testimony from yesterday. And boy, it is compelling. We've got the sister now testifying via Zoom. We'll get back to that in a bit, but if you're just joining us, let's get caught up. Here's Cody Thomas.
In September of 2022, Harris County, Texas deputies got a 911 call from 17-year-old Benjamin Elliott after his twin sister had been stabbed at their home. Police described what they found to station KHOU.
Upon arrival, they found a 17-year-old male giving CPR to his twin 17-year-old sister. The sister was eventually pronounced deceased here at the scene by EMS. She had sustained several stab wounds.
According to prosecutors, Benjamin Elliott told police he had awoken to find his sister Meghan stabbed through the neck and said he had stabbed her while he was sleepwalking.
The defendant stated that between 2:30 a.m. and 3 a.m., he woke up in the complainant's bedroom, his twin sister, with a knife inserted in her neck. The defendant stated after realizing he was not dreaming, he removed the knife, placed it next to the complainant, turned on the light to the bedroom, applied pressure to the wound with a pillow.
The twins' parents were home when deputies arrived and they released this statement in the aftermath. We are still gathering all of the facts and details of this tragedy. There is no question Benjamin loved his sister very much. They were extremely close and the best of friends. The family is asking for privacy as they process this heartbreaking event. Benjamin Elliott was charged with first-degree felony murder in the death of his sister. He faces up to life in prison if convicted.
All right, and right now we're listening to Elizabeth. This is the sister of the twins, and she's telling the court and the jury about sleepwalking, and that, yes, her brother did sleepwalk, and there was sort of an ongoing thing where he would sleepwalk, and he had no recollection of it. Let's go back, pick up Elizabeth on the stand together. Let's watch.
History of the family, okay? Fair? All right. Let me start with your dad.
Your Honor, really quickly before he asks a question, can we just approach?
Of course. Let me meet everyone. Sometimes, right? And sometimes I speak a little loud. Try to. There's white noise, but it's really loud and annoying. If you want me to.
Okay, Elizabeth, let's start with your dad, okay? Did you ever experience moments where your dad was sleep talking when you were growing up?
Many times.
Okay. Tell us about that.
It was literally a running joke. Anytime you needed anything, just ask Dad before he got up all the way. Because he would respond and you could have whole conversations with him. Me personally, like, multiple times, like, just, and he wouldn't remember any of it.
Okay. And then was there also a moment where, who's Nana?
His mom. We called her grandma growing up, but that's what my cousins call her.
Okay. Tell the jury about a time when grandma was sleepwalking or sleep talking.
I remember her sleep talking. God, I couldn't have been. It was when I was younger, I couldn't be like 9, but I just went into her room one time to ask her about something, tell her dinner was ready from my Aunt Eva used to make it, and she answered something about, like, Young Frankenstein, and, like, the movie she was watching, and she said something totally random, and they went back to sleep, and they went out to tell the family, and they just laughed and said that was just her, and she just, like, came out, like, maybe an hour later. I was really young, I barely remember it.
Did she remember the conversation you two were having when she came out about an hour later?
No.
Okay. And when you were talking to her, was she standing up? Was she sitting down? Where was she?
She was laying down. She kind of like propped up a little bit, but she was for the most part laying down.
Okay. So let's talk about Ben and Meghan. When, for instance, like if Ben and Meghan were going to school, did they ride the bus together?
Yeah.
How would they interact going to school?
They would talk. They would sit by each other on the bus. I'm sorry, what are you, like, they were, I don't know, they were normal, they would hang out, like.
Sure, let me try to narrow the question. If they were walking together to school and it was raining, how would Ben treat Meghan?
I'm going to object to leading.
Please don't lead your witness. I don't know how else to ask that question.
Okay. You ever see Ben walk with Meghan in the rain?
Yeah.
Okay. Who would hold the umbrella?
Ben.
He was looking after her?
Yeah. He would always hold it, like, over her, like, was he really on her for real?
Pass the witness, Judge.
State, please.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Elizabeth. My name is Megan Long, and I'm a prosecutor with the Harris County District Attorney's Office. I just have a few questions. I want to start with the time that the defendant walked to y'all's door. Did you say that he didn't respond to you guys? Is that correct?
Yeah, he didn't say anything.
Okay. And it took a while for y'all to get him to respond and to go back to his bed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And he did not remember anything about it the next morning, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you said your grandmother had some sort of like sleep talk interaction thing with you, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, she had no memory of that either.
Yeah.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Oh, just real quick, Judge. Elizabeth, did anyone from the Harris County Sheriff's Office ever call you?
No.
Is it a mystery who you are in relation to Ben?
Shouldn't be.
I have another question, Judge.
State.
Elizabeth, would it surprise you to know that I actually did know who you were and about the prior sleepwalking with Benjamin? Would that surprise you?
Again, it shouldn't.
No. And is it fair to say that your parents are supportive of Benjamin and that he was sleepwalking? Is that correct? Are your parents supporting Benjamin here today?
She thinks her parents.
Well, she knows the answer.
Are you asking me if they think that I'm sleepwalking?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that your family is not supportive of our prosecution of your brother?
Is your prosecution that it was premeditated?
No. It's the prosecution that he wasn't asleep. Are you saying that, would it be fair to say that your family is not supportive of us prosecuting your brother?
I mean, I think my family is supportive of finding the truth and getting Ben help that's appropriate for what the truth is. And I believe that it is sleepwalking because we have a history, a family history that appears to be.
That's not what I asked
Judge,
you.
I'm going to ask you to be allowed to finish the question.
It's unresponsive to my question.
It's responsive.
Hold on.
You can ask her about it.
Hold on. If she has an objection, the witness needs to stop. This is the problem with Zoom. So she had an objection, so she has to stop. Now your objection was non-responsive?
Non-responsive.
That'll be sustained to a non-responsive portion. Ask your next question, please.
Now, Elizabeth, are you a sleep expert?
No.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
Defense, if you want to come back and ask a question to clear something up, that's fine, sir. I'm not stopping anyone. I'm just trying to get the objections correct.
Thank you, Judge. No, we're good. Pass witness.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you can get off Zoom, ma'am, unless you have someone else that needs to get on.
No, sir.
Okay, call your next witness, please.